Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Today's show is focused on players who have been linked to the Cowboys via free agency. Top 10 targets from Bleacher Report, Blogging the Boys, Fanside. We condensed them all into one video. We'll break down that top 10, and I'll rank all 10 players at the end of today's show in order of how I would like to sign them. But for starters, do you want the Cowboys just to do something? Anything? The Cowboys will tell you that talent acquisition is a 365-day-a-year business, and they've done it on 2 days because they signed Dante Fowler, Jim Washington on both of them, and then Ryan Nall on a day. That's not talent acquisition. So if you want the Cowboys to sign somebody, anybody, type Y for yes in the comment section. If you don't, you can type in your N for no, but something tells me I'm not going to see very many N's. First up on our free agent targets list, we'll go position ordering here to start. Julio Jones. This one suggested by Blogging the Boys and by many of the commenters here on the Cowboys Report for understandable reasons. The Cowboys are rather thin right now on proven wide receiver talent. The market for Julio Jones has been silent. He was cut by Tennessee before free agency began. There has been no reports actually linking him to various teams beyond speculation stuff. So I would argue his best days might be behind him. But there also isn't much proven talent on this roster. Like many of you, I am excited about Jalen Tolbert. I'm hyped about him. I think Simi Fehoko could be a piece, maybe TJ Vasher. But there isn't that much proven talent in the wide receiver room. The Cowboys brought in James Washington. I am not sure he's better than Julio Jones. Frankly, I don't think that he is. Despite Julio's regression the past 2 years, which has been significant, every single year, 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, he has gotten worse. He has not gone in the correct direction in recent years. That is concerning and troubling to me, but he's Julio Jones. Maybe he takes that step forward back to his original talent, and even if not quite that much, I'd take 700 yards out of Julio if he plays all 16 or all 17 games or close to it at this point with where the Cowboys are at with the talent level on their wide receiving core. So I want you guys to rate the Cowboys roster kind of Madden style for me. 1 to 100, what rating are you giving the Cowboys roster as we get ready with a month to go until training camp for the Cowboys? This is the pinned comment on today's video, so if the ad break comes here on YouTube, perfect timing. Take advantage of it. Head down there and rate that Cowboys roster for me. Next up, another receiver, Will Fuller. Now, he brings a trait the Cowboys don't really have on the roster. That is true deep threat ability and speed. Yes, James Washington and Gallup have been deep threats in their college/NFL careers, but Fuller's speed is a whole nother level as it would relate to the Cowboys. The issue here, why he's unsigned, right? I can't stay healthy. In the words of producer Jeremy, he's got hamstrings made of cotton candy, which sounds delicious, but also not good for playing football. Now, this idea was pitched by Inside the Star, and I actually completely agree with it. Of all the free agent receivers out there, if I'm not focused in on a potential return guy, Fuller is the one that intrigues me the most because of that speed. Now, you got to figure out the injury stuff from 2021, the PED suspension, and whatever else off-the-field stuff seemed to be going on with Fuller last year. But the upside, youth, and speed is really appealing to me. So of the two receivers who have now been linked to the Cowboys as part of today's video, who would you rather have? Type JJ for Julio Jones or WF for Will Fuller. Let's move to the offensive line. Nate Soldier next up here. The swing tackle position for Dallas is built upon the backs of 2 day 3 draft picks with 0 NFL reps between them. It's not great, not an ideal situation there. Unlike the 2 other names we'll get to momentarily, Nate Soldier has played both right tackle and left tackle somewhat in the NFL. This idea is suggested by Blogging the Boys, and I am open to it if the Cowboys, I should say, are terrified of Josh Ball and or Matt Blitz. Because let's be honest with ourselves. Who here thinks Tyron Smith's going to play all 17 games? Nobody's hand went up because it's just not going to happen. The problem is Nate Solder's kind of washed. I don't think he has it anymore. He's had a long NFL career, but the guy who was at one point the highest paid tackle in the entire NFL, who got that deal going from the Patriots to the Giants, he ain't that same player anymore. That's just the reality of the situation. We got several more names to get to, but we've talked a lot about free agency here, even though the Cowboys haven't done anything. Name a free agent who you want to see the Cowboys go out and sign. Drop that name in the comments section. Duane Brown, next up as we move through more offensive tackles. He is an aging left tackle only. And in the event that, let's say, knock on wood, does not happen, Tyron Smith's back flares up again at training camp, and it's going to be clear he's going to miss a bunch of time this year. Brown is the one I am most intrigued by. He is a veteran left tackle, but remember, it always takes two sides to tango. Does Duane Brown want to be a backup in Dallas? I'm not so sure that he does. And as he continues to approach age 40, he ain't going to get any better. I am a little bit surprised nobody signed Duane Brown, but when the Panthers and Seahawks both took left tackles in round one, those were the two prime destinations. My concern for Duane Brown, he is this year's Russell Okung, who you're like, wow, that guy should be signed, right? No one ever showed any interest, and I think age is a big factor on that front. The Cowboys Report is also on Rumble. We have free and uncensored content. We also do Cowboys Report After Hours, exclusive live segment on Rumble. That is back this week. So make sure you follow us for free on that video platform at rumble.com/Cowboys TV. Desktop and app versions are available. Oh, by the way, you can also play it podcast style on your phone with just audio only, which can't really do on YouTube. So give us a follow at rumble.com/Cowboys TV. One more offensive tackle here. That's Bryan Bulaga, who has missed significant time the past 2 years, but he spent his entire career on the right side. The connection here, unlike the names we've gone through so far, Bryan Bulaga played under Joe Philbin and Mike McCarthy for several years in Green Bay. They have a good feel for that player. I don't know if he can handle the left side. However, if your plan hypothetically is to move Terrence Steele to the left side if Tyron Smith goes down, for the record, not on board there, then Bulaga could make some more sense. Injuries are real on this front. He had barely played at all in 2021 and missed a large portion of 2022. When he was out there, he was just okay. At a certain point, when you're an offensive lineman and you can't stay healthy and you lose it, meaning your talent and just all of it, it typically doesn't come back. I'm concerned for all three of the offensive tackles we just discussed. That's the case, that they just don't have it anymore because of age and injuries as that's continued to rise in the past couple of seasons. There are three tackles named. Bleacher Report, fan-sided blog, and the boys all suggesting different names. Who would you most like to sign? You got to pick one. Type NS for Nate Solder, DB for Duane Brown, or BB for Bryan Bulaga. Let's talk center. We mentioned the injuries for the first three guys, losing it. J.C. Tretter is still good. I am very surprised he is unsigned. One of the three most surprising unsigned free agents left in the NFL for me. There have been concerns over the health of his knees and his role in the NFLPA, but I think FanSided picked maybe the best name on this entire list when they pitched him as a Cowboys free agent target. When he's been healthy and playing, Tretter's been awesome. He has always been out there making big-time plays and making impact for you in terms of offensive line plays, right? Allowed 1 sack last year. And yes, amid all the knee concerns, he missed a bunch of practices. He played in 16 games. COVID cost him the one. So I think it's fair to be worried about the knees. But at the same time, unless he's asking for a significant amount of guaranteed money, what's the downside of bringing him in? I do wonder if in the end, maybe his role in the NFLPA is something that NFL teams just don't want to add into the locker room. Now, if the Cowboys actually make a move, which would just be marvelous, although they have the open roster spots, can't wait till one's used on a kicker, we will break it down. So if you want free Cowboys videos on all the latest news, rumors, free agency, draft, in-season, off-season coverage, we've got you guys covered. Hit the big red button here on YouTube and subscribe at youtube.com/Cowboys TV. Over to defense now, Ndamukong Suh. Even though he continues to age and is now 35 years old, Suh is still an impactful player. But we've also seen him available on the free agent market for years, and the Cowboys have never shown a ton of interest in the past. Now, Bleacher Report thinks he'll get somewhere in the $8 to $9 million range. I'm unconvinced it will come in that expensive. I think 5 to 7 might be the better range, but it's free agency. Weird stuff happens. We do have to adjust our expectations. I don't think Suh's going to be prime Ndamukong Suh anymore. And from a tackle perspective, you've seen the dip in production, but he can still get after the quarterback. He can still stop the run. And he would give this team something they don't really have, a truly proven, impactful interior presence. I am excited about the future of Osa Odigizua and Neville Gallimore, not so much Tristan Hill. But if I could have, as my other notable defensive tackle beyond my run stoppers in Quinton Bohanna and John Ridgway, if I could pick between Carlos Watkins and Ndamukong Suh, sorry, Carlos, that's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. To linebackers now, beginning with Anthony Barr. There have been reports, Fort Worth Star-Telegram amongst them, that the Cowboys have interest in Anthony Barr at the right price, i.e. if the cost is cheap enough. I think Barr would be pretty cheap. I think a linebacker is an area this team needs to add somebody before camp, because they're super thin, in proven talent or proven depth even, and just bodies. Damone Clark is not going to be back, I don't think, at all this year. If it is, it's late in the season, so he's not going to play. Devontae Bond is out for the year, torn ACL. That leaves Micah Parsons in his hybrid role, Leighton Vander Esch, Jabril Cox, Luke Gifford, UDFAs, and Aaron Hansford, Story Jackson, and a 6th-round pick in Devin Harper. That is not enough at the linebacker spot. Although Anthony Barr's 5 pass breakups and his couple of interceptions were fluky for his age and previous production, he's still a decent football player. And at minimum, don't we feel better if Anthony Barr is linebacker, even linebacker 3, behind LVE and Jabril Cox, if we include Parsons in his hybrid role, as opposed to Luke Gifford in that spot? Cowboys legend Anthony Hitchens is next up here. He played for the Cowboys from 2014, 2017, got a bag for the Chiefs, and played pretty well. As we mentioned, there's not much proven depth there. This one was suggested by both Blog and the Boys and Bleacher Report, one of the few players to get multiple links along with Anthony Barr for pretty good reason. Hitchens, I want to make clear, despite what the numbers might say, is nowhere near the guy he was in his prime. He's still putting up 80 tackles, 4 TFLs. He's not good in coverage anymore. There are too many missed tackles. The Chiefs were better when they were playing other linebackers like Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, over Hitchens at the position. I would argue it took them maybe too long to truly unleash the Bolton-Gay combo. But as depth, veteran depth, sure, just expect that he's probably not better than Leighton Vander Esch is at this point in his NFL career. So of the 2 linebackers, pick one for me. Type B for you'd rather sign Anthony Barr, or type in H for you'd rather sign Anthony Hitchens. One more defensive player, that is Trey Flowers. The Cowboys lost Randy Gregory. Fans thought it was like, oh my God, they got to get somebody, and I'm not so sure that's actually the case. A, they have some pieces. B, Trey Flowers isn't really all that great if we're being honest about what he's at this point in his NFL career. The Cowboys brought in Dante Fowler on a not fully guaranteed deal. They're going to rely on Dorrance Armstrong to play a huge role for them. They drafted Sam Williams in round 2, and they've got Terrell Basham and Chauncey Golston. Plus, you know that Micah Parsons will play a hybrid role. Frankly, they're going to cut one of those guys probably between Fowler or Basham if everyone stays healthy. So the numbers game does not really add up for me for Trey Flowers, who at one point was a consistent 8-ish sack per season guy. Injuries have added up. I know the Lions were bad. I acknowledge all of that. 14 games the last 2 years, 4 tackles for loss and 3.5 sacks. That's Terrell Basham production. I already have a Terrell Basham on my roster. I don't need another one who is continuing to age and who I do not trust to truly stay healthy. So those were the 10 free agents linked to Dallas. Here's how I would rank them in order of desire to sign. It's funny, by the way, the top 5 and the bottom 5, huge tier gap for me. If you want to go to the top 5, I'm all for it. Bottom 5, same thing. I put them at J.C. Tretter at number 1, the center, Anthony Barr at number 2, Will Fuller at 3, Ndamukong Suh number 4, Julio Jones number 5. Then it's the tier gap for Duane Brown, Bryan Bulaga, Anthony Hitchens, Trey Flowers, and Nate Soldier rounding out the bottom of that 5. If you made it to the end of today's video, thank you guys so much. I appreciate that. Type DC for L, that's Dallas Cowboys for life, in the comments section, and I'll show you some love in the comments if you do it.